Every evening, people come to this lakefront to see one of the most beautiful sunsets in Switzerland. But beyond the view, and actually right behind me, lies a town with a story far bigger than its size. How did a small, humble fishing village become a hub for billionaires and blockchain startups? Today, we're gonna find out. Welcome to Zug, Switzerland. We arrived at Zug's main station on a quiet Saturday morning. Coming down from Zurich in the north, the train tracks split here. One line goes east, the other west. It gives the station a feeling of a small crossroads. But we didn't come here to study the train tracks. We came to explore a town which has a reputation of being a tax haven. They say people only live here because of the low taxes, but I think it's not entirely true. There's much more to it. Let's go and explore this place. Stepping outside, the city felt calm, the streets were just waking up, and the air carried that mix of freshness and warmth you only get on a sunny morning by the lake. It's 9 in the morning, we just arrived, let's go straight to the town center and the lake and get our first impressions. After a short walk past the beautiful church, the view opened to the wide lake, where a few tourists were already capturing the scene with their cameras. On the shore stands an unusual sculpture called Seesicht. It looks like the gate to another world, or maybe an underground nightclub. But if you follow it down, you'll see that it's only an underwater observatory.
Fish.
Another surprise was the Flea Market, which only takes place twice a year, so we were lucky to catch it. During the Flomir, as locals call it, Zug's old town turns into a treasure hunt. Stalls line the streets with antiques, clothes and other second-hand gems. My favorite stall was run by a kind elderly gentleman, proudly selling the hand-carved wooden objects he made himself.
Also dieses Stück, das wäre ich.
Okay.
Aber es bin nicht ich, oder? und diese hier hatte man früher gehabt in den Ställen, der Schreinerei,
okay,
bei den Bauern. Da hatte man am Morgen früh, ging man mit diesen Schuhen, man hatte weniger Fußschweif in diesen Schuhen innen. Das sind sogenannte Zuger.
Later, the man explained to us that it took him less than 6 months to create this masterpiece.
Wenn man das Handwerk beherrscht,
ja,
geht es natürlich schneller. Das ist klar. Das ist egal was, auch diese hier. Da jetzt, früher hatte man so ein Stück gemacht in einem Tag.
Ja.
Aber heute, wer macht das noch? Niemand.
Ja, stimmt. Overall, it felt less about shopping and more about exchange and atmosphere.
Ja, das ist gut.
Pero son perfectos. Pero son muy grandes. ¿Grandes? Sí.
So we spent our first few hours just wandering through the market, pretending to shop, but mostly soaking up the atmosphere and chatting with the locals who seemed friendly and open. Then we came across a small burger stand and I couldn't resist. The concept is simple, a bit like IKEA. They give you the basic parts, the bun, the patty, and then it's up to you to build the masterpiece. After the market, we climb up to the Guggi viewpoint. From here, Zug's story unfolds in a single frame. The lake, the rooftops and the mountains beyond. The beauty of this place is insane. But this hill isn't natural at all. It was created from excavated material during the construction of the Gotthard railway tunnel in 1890s and later transformed into a park. Standing on something so new that feels so timeless is a reminder that Zug's landscape has been reshaped many times by people. To see how it all began, let's wind back to the earliest chapter of its history. Zug's story begins on the shores of its lake, where people settled as early as the Bronze Ages, which was about 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. By the Middle Ages, a small, humble community has grown, living mostly off farming and fishing. Fishing is something you will still often see here today, but a walk through the old town reveals more traces of its fishing heritage. There's even a fishing museum, but we didn't go inside. I think a guided tour was going on and we didn't want it to interrupt. Zug was never wealthy, but it was fortunate with its location, right between Lucerne and Gotthard route heading south and Zurich to the north. And that geography became its turning points. The lake made Zug a natural stop for merchants carrying salt, wine, grains and textiles. By the 14th century, the town had outgrown farming and fishing, becoming a small, local trading hub. Despite its growing role as a trading town, everyday life remained simple. Farming and fishing still shaped daily routines, even as trade introduced new streams of wealth. The Landesgemeindeplatz, which is the square where I'm sitting right now, became the center for markets, tax collection and civic life. Zug remained modest but rising in importance. It began to attract bigger players. The Habsburgs, eager to control trade and territory across central Switzerland, brought Zug under their rule in the early 14th century. Like many ambitious towns of the time, Zug soon surrounded itself with walls and watchtowers. Among them stood the Zytturm, at first just a simple gate, but already the symbol of a community with growing ambitions. Today, the Zytturm is the most important landmark here in Zug. It was built in the 13th century as part of the defensive city wall. Back then, it wasn't a fancy clock tower as it is today. It was just a defensive structure from which guards would watch for threats. Later in the 16th century, it was crowned with its colorful roof and gained a clock. Beneath the time, an astronomical dial shows zodiac signs, the moon phases, and even leap years. So I was hoping to visit it today. Unfortunately, I can't. It seems that the tower is still under renovation. No, unfortunately, not today. When Zug expanded, the city walls shifted outwards and the Zytturm lost its defensive role. New towers were built along the new defensive city wall. The Pulverturm, or the Powder Tower, dates back to the 16th century and it is one of the last standing towers of Zug's medieval fortifications. As the name suggests, it once stored gunpowder and arms. Just a short walk away is the Kapuzinerturm. Built in the Middle Ages, it later took its name from the nearby Capuchin Monastery. What about the monastery itself? Well, it's actually called St. Anna Monastery, and it played an important role during the Reformation, which was a turbulent time for Zug. During the Reformation, Zurich under Hildrich Zwingli became a leading Protestant voice, while Zug chose to remain Catholic, siding with central Switzerland. Tensions erupted in 1531 at Cappel am Albis, where Zug and its allies defeated Zurich's army and Zwingli was killed. From that point on, Zug's Catholic identity was set in stone. But to keep faith strong in the decades that followed, the city invited the newly formed Capuchin order to settle here. These barefoot monks with long beards and brown hoods weren't just colorful characters, they were Catholicism frontline defenders, making sure that Protestant ideas didn't gain ground. Meanwhile, the world had changed. While Zurich had raced into the industrial age of the 1800s, Zug remained traditional and agrarian, clinging to the rhythm of the countryside. And this Catholic identity can still be felt today. Here we have the St. Michael Church. Built in 1902 in a style inspired by Romanesque and early Gothic architecture, the church replaced an older building that once stood high on the hill above Zug. Just a short dragonfly away we have the Church of St. Oswald. Built in the Middle Ages, it still dominates the skyline with its tall spire and Gothic arches. Step inside and you will find vaulted ceilings and richly decorated altars. Both churches are impressive, but Zug's oldest place of worship is much smaller and simpler. And this here is actually the oldest church in Zug. It was first mentioned in 1622. From outside it looks quite simple. Let's have a look inside. Inside you'll find Baroque paintings of Virgin Mary and many other details. Right next to it we have this funny looking red shell fountain. It shows a woman carrying her drunk husband home in a basket, as seen from a local legend. When you stroll through the old town, one building really stands out, the Obermünz. Take a look. During 15th century, this was the place where Zug minted its own coins. For a small town like Zug, this was remarkable. It meant independence, control over trade, and recognition among its bigger neighbors. Even after joining the Swiss Confederacy, Zug kept its minting rights for a while, but over time larger cantons took the lead and Zug's minting slowly faded. Later this building was repurposed as government offices and today it lives on as private residence. Zug's medieval prosperity was fragile. Fires, plagues and wars left their mark. The old town with its narrow streets and wooden houses was especially vulnerable to fire. But nature also played a major part. Just down by the lakeshore is a place called Disaster Bay. This shoreline right here once carried one of the darkest moments in Zug's history. Parts of the old town collapsed into the water, not only once but twice. In 1435, 26 houses slipped into the lake and about 60 lives were lost. In 1887, another quarter collapsed, taking 35 houses and 11 lives. As we walked around, we came across a guided tour explaining the story of the collapsed houses.
Und am Abend um 5 Uhr hat es einen Knall gegeben und der ganze, Sie müssen sich vorstellen, eine Häuserzeug ist in den See versunken.
Geologist later explains that the lake bed is made of soft sediments, and with all the weight of new construction, the slope underneath the water collapsed. It went step by step until whole streets were gone. Today, the shoreline carries the memory in its shape. The gap in the promenade is not just for design, it's a scar. The town rebuilt carefully with new rules for construction along the shore. The lake that once destroyed homes is today the same lake that gives Zug its beauty and its identity. Another significant landmark is the Burg Zug, a medieval castle. Let's go on the other side, I think you have a better view from the other side. Yeah, from here it looks much better. This is the Burg Zug, and it looks like something straight from a medieval storybook. Take a look. Built in the 13th century, this castle started as a fortified residence for local nobles, giving them control over trade and territory. It was built just outside the fortified city walls. It had defensive walls and a tower, but it was never on the scale of a fortress. Over time, it evolved further into a noble residence, with more emphasis on luxury living and prestige. Inside it houses a museum that tells the story of this town, and it preserves the originally decorated rooms of the wealthy people who used to live there. Let's have a look.
Möglicherweise waren es die Kieburger.
As expected, the museum offers an overview of Zug's past, its origins, battles, and strong Catholic heritage. But here, history isn't told only through kings and wars, it comes alive in details of daily life. One room recreates a family pharmacy where shelves once held medicines alongside the knowledge and trust passed down through generations.
1962 bin ich der, der den Betrieb übernommen hat. Mein Vater hat in den späteren Jahren nie etwas am Geschäft verändert. So hat natürlich das Geschäft, das ich übernommen habe, nicht mehr der Zeit entsprochen.
Nearby, a shoemaker's workshop reveals another side of the town. Sturdy leather, worn tools, and a craft that quite literally kept Zug on its feet.
Dort hat seine Jugend verbracht und hat dann eigentlich Landwirt werden. Es ist ihm aber dann nicht gelungen, weil einen schweren Unfall hatte. Da haben wir also eine Werkbank vom Schuhmacher und da hat es verschiedene Werkzeuge getroffen.
These humble spaces remind us that Zug's story isn't just in its towers or trade, but in the hands of ordinary people shaping everyday life. And for a glimpse of the other side, the museum also preserves the richly decorated rooms of the wealthy families that once lived in this castle, complete with their original belongings. Rooted in farming and fishing, Zug remained a quiet conservative place for centuries. The 19th century brought industrialization to Switzerland, but not that much to Zug. While Schaffhausen built machines, Zurich thrived on textiles and Basel on chemicals, Zug remained small and rural. Its most famous invention was actually a cake, the Zuger Kirschtorte, which is a cherry cake made with cherry brandy. And we actually tried it today, or at least a small version of it. It's actually quite good and it has a nice kick of cherry brandy. I think some people might even get drunk from it. Another interesting invention from here is a cherry sausage. Apparently it was invented in 2009 in this butchery in Bar, a small town just outside of Zug. It tastes smoky and savory like a traditional curd sausage with a subtle fruity sweetness from the cherries. While this cake and the sausage are probably the most significant inventions from Zug, other bigger towns were thriving on heavy industry. Unable to compete, Zug eventually found another path, attracting businesses and wealthy residents with very low taxes. In Switzerland, each canton sets its own tax rate, including personal income tax. And Zug took advantage of this to attract people and their companies. By the 1970s, Zug had transformed into a corporate hub. One man who stood at the center of this change was Mark Rich, a brilliant but controversial American trader who fled to Zug in the 1980s after US indictments for tax evasion and illegal oil deals with Iran. From Zug, he built what became Glencore, a global commodities empire which still exists today. And this here is the headquarters of Glencore today. In the 1990s and 2000s, Zug saw another wave of wealth, this time from Russian oligarchs. After the Soviet collapse, billionaires from oil, gas and metals needed a safe and discreet base for their holding companies, and Zug was the perfect place. Critics raised concerns, but supporters pointed at jobs and investments that came with the money. By 2008, Zug had more registered companies than residents. Can you imagine that? It was around 27,000 companies compared to only 24,000 people. Not surprisingly, over 37% of Zug's residents are foreign, many of them wealthy business people. Locals enjoy very low taxes, top schools, safe streets, and efficient public services, a culture that extends into local governance. Zug's authorities are known for being approachable and efficient. The tax office is often described as custom-oriented, a sharp contrast to some neighboring countries where the state treats taxpayers less like partners and more like paychecks. Today, Zug attracts companies not with secrecy but with efficiency, quick setup, a friendly tax office, and a solid legal system. Add to that stunning lake views and a safe, stable society, and Zug doesn't just attract companies, it attracts the people behind them. This mix of lifestyle and governance set the stage for Zug's next reinvention. After 2010, the city embraced blockchain technology, offering favorable regulation to attract the emerging industry. By 2014, Zug had branded itself as Crypto Valley, a cluster of crypto and blockchain startups. It even allowed certain fees to be paid in crypto. The strategy worked. Ethereum, one of the world's most important blockchain platforms, set up its foundation here, followed by hundreds of startups. Soon, investors, developers and entrepreneurs from all around the world were flocking to this small Swiss town. Zug's identity had shifted once again, from a commodities hub to a pioneer in blockchain tech. Now, Zug is one of the wealthiest towns in Switzerland. Life here feels calm, polished and international. Here by the lake you'll see plenty of people enjoying summer on their sleek boats. But you can also rent a paddle boat and live almost the same lifestyle for a day, just with a bit more legwork. As we stumbled upon this event with live music, food and drinks, our mood turned festive, and it felt like the perfect moment to finally try Zuger Kirsch. It's the region's famous cherry brandy. It's actually a protected trademark tied to Zug's long tradition of distilling from local cherries. With the taste still lingering, we headed back to the lake. The sun was about to set, and we don't want to miss the perfect ending to this day. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this journey, one of the true highlights of Zug is its sunset. And now it's time to enjoy it and wrap up this video. Zug's transformation is remarkable. The question is, how will it keep reinventing itself? Does the Crypto Valley have a bright future, or will it burst just like the tulip bubble of the Netherlands? And will Zug's low taxes and efficiency continue to make it thrive, or will politics ruin it? My guess is that Zug will keep searching for balance, but whatever the future holds, one thing will remain unchanged: the natural beauty of this place. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, it means a lot to us. And don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.